Right, for Over the Ditch now, Matty Markham joins me. Matty, thank you very much. Different time slot, but there's plenty happening in New Zealand harness racing as we speak, mate.
Yeah, g'day to you, Paul. Nice to be joining you for another week. Yeah, a lot to probably look back on and a lot to look forward to, I guess. And things really ramp up this week, don't they? Because there's some Aussies in town, finally.
Yes.
Just Believe and Better Eclipse and One Overall have all arrived in New Zealand. Two of them heading to Kaikoura on Monday. Did happen to see a video of Just Believe in his new paddock. I believe he's at Purden Racing in Rolleston. So he's certainly mixing it with the best while he's over here, that's for sure.
He'll have his mate with him too, Jimmy. I think they get on like a house on fire, Better Eclipse and him. I think they both come along at the right time. And Better Eclipse's form's nothing to write home about, probably his last couple of starts. He grew a leg on the North Island. There's every chance he might.
Oh, he does.
Yeah,
and I think we've seen that every time he's come to New Zealand. He's come over, perhaps not probably firing on all cylinders back on his homeland, but he's come over here and been very competitive with the best we've got. And yeah, he goes to Kaikoura on Monday, lands a decent enough draw, and it'll be an interesting watch to see how he goes, but probably a bigger watch on the stablemate that's heading up there, One Overall, because obviously it's still just sitting outside or just inside the official cup rankings.
Yeah, and he's off 15 metres. He's the only one off that handicap, so it's going to be a tough ask for him.
Yeah, it's a tricky track to try and make ground from the back. So one thing that will probably play into his favour a wee bit is that South Bay Trotters Cup generally tends to be run at a pretty good speed. So he will get a chance. And there will be some New Zealand breakers, and we'll call them breakers given the fact that they are seaside, that will open up some gaps for him to punch through. Yeah, you saw what I did there, didn't you? Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I'll see how many C references I can get into the next however long we're going to talk for.
Well, we are going to be a wee bit shorter because anyone wondering, you are still at work, and I do really appreciate you giving me the time. Plus, we have a bit of wind happening, but that's okay. There's quite a few things we want to catch on. Canberra is actually going to do something with me right now.
Well, I'm into doing some strange things, Paul, as you know, but this November does come about as Movember, which is a thing that's been going for a number of years. I think when I did a bit of research on it, started about 20 odd years ago in Australia. Some guys in Melbourne, Australia, did it to try and raise some awareness for men's mental health, etc. So now, fast forward 20 odd years down the track, 21 years down the track, it's now a worldwide thing, and a lot of guys use it as an excuse to grow a horrendous moustache or something. I've actually grown attached to my horrendous facial hair, so I've decided to do something a little differently. But the real reason why I wanted to talk to you about it, Paul, is to just raise awareness. You know, we do a lot of good things in the community. You've done a lot of good things around what you've done with Team Teal and the Blue September thing. This is a special one that a lot of guys here in New Zealand do, and no doubt they do in Australia. But because it's sort of around the whole masculine moustache thing, I think people need to be aware of what it actually stands for. So Movember is to raise awareness, as I said earlier, about men's mental health and suicide prevention. And there's a couple of other cancers, testicular cancers and bits and pieces that they also fund towards. It's now a worldwide thing. So all money raised goes to sort of world initiatives to prevent some of those things that we just talked about before. How people can get involved is basically go to the Movember.com page. And again, you can grow the horrendous facial hair if you want to. You can host any sort of event. You want to go and have a pub quiz, you want an excuse to have a pub quiz, you can. You can do anything you like to raise funds for Movember. Or you can do something a little bit different, like I have, and there is a opportunity or a pay to move for Movember, which is you are meant to move for Movember, which is to run or walk 60 Ks for the month of November, which when I looked at it, I thought, geez, that's not so bad. So I've decided to double it. So I'm going to run 120 Ks for the month of November, to try and raise. I've set my target pretty modestly at $1,500 to get some, and I've already got a couple in the bin already, and I thank those people that have done that. And the kicker is on the 30th day of November is obviously the 30th. So on the 30th, I'm going to run, separate to my 120Ks, is 30Ks on that day. Haven't actually decided where I'm going to do that yet, but well, that's the plan. Is we'll run 120Ks for the month and then run 30 on that day. And basically, I'm again all for raising the awareness for the men's mental health and suicide prevention, and along with the testicular cancer stuff. And Paul, you're going to put the link up there for people if they want to donate. It's as I say, it's a worldwide thing. So don't be afraid if you're in India or Pakistan or wherever you want to donate. You're more than welcome. We happily take your sponsorship. And yeah, that's really it for me, Paul. Just wanted to get some awareness from it. I think it's a great cause. It's something that is quite big here, but I just don't think a lot of people probably understand the messaging behind what it is and what good it does. Because to probably go back, which I probably didn't mention at the time, is the reason for the 60Ks, which I think I told you this at the time, Paul, when you said you couldn't believe it. But the 60Ks for the month of November represents the 60 men who we lose from suicide for every hour of the day globally, which is a pretty horrendous statistic when you think about it, that 60 men an hour globally. So again, if you can help out and sponsor, well, then I'd be over the moon. But if you just want to share in the pain and suffering that I'm going to have to go through, well, then you're more than welcome to do that too. The month of November isn't the quietest month for what I do, but again, if it's a means I've got to get up a bit earlier or go for a run a bit later at night, so be it. Because at the end of the day, if that's what I've got to do to try and raise some funds to help guys out, so be it. So there you go, Paul. That's me.
And that is all around November and the month of November. So well done to Cam for what he's doing, Matty. I haven't recorded that officially. I haven't recorded that yet, but I know what I've got him to do. So well done to him, and get behind him if you can, because it is a very busy month for him and for everyone else. So he's having a red hot crack. Been a massive week. Unfortunately, we couldn't do Tuesday. Just looking back at some of the achievements of the Kiwis, Matty, are just amazing. Starting with Dexter Dunn, Breeders' Crown, 6 Breeders' Crown winners in the one weekend. Unbelievable. Probably flies under the radar a little bit. Chris Ryder, great mate of his, 2 Breeders' Crown winners as well. Just amazing achievements.
I think one thing that we do in Australia, Australasia, I should say, is take Dexter Dunn for granted a wee bit. Because what he is achieving over in America is quite remarkable. And if you happen to follow a few of their social media pages and chat rooms and things like that, the way that some of these people are starting to talk about Dex and where he stands in the list of all-time great drivers is getting pretty scary, you know. Only the best go out and do what he did last weekend over there. And yes, you've got to have the horsepower, but I think over there especially, so much of it is actually about the person sitting behind and the bike as well. Because of the speeds they go and the need to be just inch perfect in your rating of speed and tempo and moving in races, etc. You know, it's got to take a very large element of skill, and Dex does it so well. We saw it here, obviously. It's no surprise to us, but I really feel like we don't celebrate and promote his successes enough. And I have felt that way pretty much since the day that he moved over there. I've been critical on a couple of occasions of HRNZ of not, getting behind him and celebrating what he's doing. So I think any chance you get to celebrate what Dex is achieving, and Chris for that matter as well. And, they're not the only ones that we can talk about. There's, Andy McCarthy and all those ones over there doing superb jobs as well. Lauren and Shane Tritton. Yep. Obviously going really well as well. And I mean, that's only a handful of probably quite a few, but, Dex sort of sits up there like he has because he's been at the top of the pile since pretty much the day he first jumped into a sulky. So, no, not surprised, but very pleased to see it.
Yeah, it is an amazing achievement. I saw a stat the other day. He's the leading money earner this season, yet by wins, he's nearly 100 behind the second place horse. They're just an amazing stats what he's doing. He's winning the right races.
Well, that's it. He targets those big carnivals and those big races and works hard to get those drives, and probably at the detriment of numbers in terms of, I guess, yeah, if you had to put it into a bit of a layman's terms, it's a quality over quantity sort kind of situation. And the fact that, he's chasing the big stake races, and in order to do that, he's got to be there to drive, the big stake horses. And he's lucky he's got a couple of really good stables around him that he seems to get a lot of regular drives for. Obviously, we've just seen the retirement of Jiggy Jog, who I thought was an exceptional horse. So, not all that long ago, we had Bulldog Hanover and all those ones running around too. So he's definitely got the horsepower to win those big races. But I think at the end of the day, it's a little bit more important to some of those guys, given the way that their driver payments work, to be leading the money wins, money premiership than it is the wins premiership.
Yeah, I think the leading driver in America's driven 700 winners this year. Get your head around that, some of you Kiwis, because you don't have 700 races in some parts of it, so it's just ridiculous. It's unbelievable. Crystal Hackett had her on last week. I could have her on just about every week. She drove a treble last week at Auckland, continues to go from strength to strength along at Auckland. Team Maru, was it, on Sunday? Some great results at Team Maru.
No, Tuapeka.
I should get that because there's one of those hats up there.
And Invercargill.
Yes, but there were some great results there. Kirsten Green with 2 winners. Maddie Williamson, 2 as a trainer and 2 as a driver, including the big race. And then Johnny Cox also with a double. So some pretty good achievements over the weekend for some people that just do an amazing job for the industry, I reckon, promoting it and always putting their names out there.
Yeah, 100%. And, that's one thing that's really important too, is especially at this time of the year, it can be easy to have all your attention grabbed by probably the top half a dozen stables in the country, because obviously we're leading into the big time and they've got all the big horses, or the majority of the big horses. But, people like Kirsten, who does a wicked job with her team down in Southland, Maddie Williamson's doing a huge job out of Oamaru, like the Williamson family as a whole. And just to put it into perspective for people who don't know the geographical location of where they're based in Oamaru, so for them to come to Addington on a Friday night is probably 6-hour round trip with a horse float. To go to Invercargill, you're probably looking at a closer to 8-9 hour round trip. So they are bang smack in the middle of the South Island. They're lucky if they have one meeting in their home home track a month, maybe every 2 months, and they're on the road for the rest of it, whether it's to Invercargill, Winton, Wyndham, or to Addington, Methven, Rangiora, Mochikarara, or whatever. The amount of kilometres they travel in a week to attend race meetings and trials, they deserve every single success that they get, that family.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind the amount of time they spend staring at their steering, looking at their steering wheel.
No, could not agree more. And I've got one little thing back onto Kirsten, and I agree with you. And the one thing I love about them, if I ask them for a chat, they'll give me a chat. There's not a worry there in the world, and every one of them, from it doesn't matter which one of it is. It's got a Williamson as a Cerner, maybe Bev. Bev might say no, but the rest of them are more than happy to have a chat. So yeah.
If you ask Bev, she would say yes. She's too lovely to say no, as Bev.
This is one of the things I love about. Why did that not come up, Maddie? I don't know. Maybe if I got there, it is there. Now I've got it. So this is Kirsten Green's own private Facebook page. So she won't get it as a public one there. But this is just typifies the people in this industry. Well, needless to say, if we can hold that spot for another week, we make a landmark race. It will be a career goal ticked off. And I reckon that's one of the things as an industry we need to celebrate and go from there. Hopefully Kirsten's okay. I'm not going to show any of the other parts of it page, but at the minute, Fiery Bandito is 14th in order of entry there. The horse has gone terrific. He was awesome on Sunday, but it's that's what this industry is about. She's not saying she's going to win it. It's ticked off just making it, let alone the fact that this year it's a $400,000 race.
And that's it. And I think, racing can be a great avenue in which there are no real barriers towards success. You don't have to have all the money in the world or the latest training gear, or have the big owners sitting in your back pocket. You can go out there if you've got a nice horse. You can step it out, and Kirsten's going to have a trotter racing for $400,000 in a couple of weeks, because I'm sure that horse will hold its spot into the Dominion Handicap, because there are a couple to come out, I believe, ahead of it still, so it's actually going to climb up even further.
Yeah, well,
I'm Ready Jet's coming out, is actually already out. There's still a wee question mark over Call Me the Breeze.
I think there's more than a question mark, because he's out of the Swan Hill Cup. So he tried.
Well, if he's out of the Swan Hill Cup, then he's not coming at all.
They're saying he's still coming. I don't know whether it's clickbait or what, but today, I don't understand it. They trialled him on Monday, said he warmed up average, trotted good in the race. They then said he's right to race at Swan Hill. They've then pulled him out straight away before driver's declarations. So Kate's back on Revelstoke. I can't see him coming. You got to look at it from a few points. I wear a few hats. I got it here too. Don't worry about that. From Harassed Trotters, he's a stay-in prospect. So they're not going to go across there, showcase this horse to the Kiwis, and him perform below par. He has to go there at 100%, and clearly he's not at 100%. So I can't see. I'll put it out there now. I can't see him coming. I don't know that, but I can't see him coming.
I think we'd be having a very different conversation right now if there wasn't a certain horse called Just Believe in the race.
Yep, totally.
But yeah, so obviously if he's not coming, there's got to be a question mark over Kai Valley Hotspur, because we haven't seen him for a few weeks. He was down to race at Addington, but was withdrawn or scratched. So, excuse me. That's going to see Kirsten's horse consolidate its spot inside the top 15.
Yep.
Cool wee story potentially unfolding. A horse like Maui, who ran 4th to bet and win at Ashburton on Monday, is now a big chance of actually sneaking his way into the 15. And for the McCormick family, that would be out of this world huge.
Yeah.
A homegrown trotter, a homebred trotter from a family line that goes back a long, long way through David's father, Doug, who raced a line of horses. That'd be pretty special. So those stories in themselves, and we talked about it a few weeks ago when we saw Tack McLeod and Franco Marek make the cut. Yes, you've got your big guns, you've got your Merlins and your Don't Stop Streamings and your Just Believes and your Muscle Mountains and your Oscar Bonavinas, etc. But it's the little stories underneath those that actually make it. They're the really personal ones that people can really get behind. So if you get the likes of the Mauis, the Fiery Banditos, the Franco Mareks, etc., Tack McLeods, the more of them, provided they're good enough to be there, the better. And none of those horses that I've mentioned at the moment don't deserve to probably have a crack at either of those big races come Cup Week.
Let them dream. I met those guys at Roxburgh. I reckon you told me, you said he'll be, I think it was actually a family Quinella. I reckon they only had, that was right, wasn't it? I think they won the
Maui and Vertigo.
Yeah. And
Lawrence's chestnut mare on second and Maui won. Yeah.
And it was a great interview, because there was a fair bit going on behind the scenes. There was a lot of cheek. They're great people, and a lot of fun. I think they had 3 runners for the day. They might have had 3 winners. 2 winners and a second or something. They had a good day anyway. I remember that.
Yeah, they generally have a pretty good run.
Yeah.
Down on that central circuit. Lawrence is one of my best mates. He's actually best man at my wedding next year, and I always take a lot of enjoyment out of seeing their family, because they're effectively my family as well.
Yep.
Have a bit of success, and watching them run 4th on Monday on their home track was pretty cool.
Yep.
And he's been a great horse for them, Maui. He's done a super job, and that's just another little cool story, or another cool little aspect to what is already going to be an amazing Cup day.
Yeah, I totally agree. And they are the stories that we've got to get out there, and we must continue to promote. Well, we'll get on to the Magic Monday in a second. Wednesday just gone, though, at Addington. Great to see a horse, Massive Merc. This will be a left field one for you. Finally broke through, though. It promised to win a race for so long. I forgot the gentleman's name. I didn't write it down on my pieces of paper, but I met him in the car park. He's a ripper. And I reckon hats off to him for finally getting him across the line. I'm sure that's a load off his back.
Alan Clark
That's
is the
him?
man's name,
Yeah.
formerly of Otago. You want to spend some time in South Canterbury as well. Now calls Ashburton home. Now, Alan will be remembered by some people as the trainer and driver of a very good open class trotter called the Fiery Ginga.
Oh, yeah.
Who was an absolute warhorse here. He faced the unfortunate situation of being an open class horse in the time of I Can Do's It and Stig, among others. So he won over $300,000, I think.
Yeah.
The Fiery Ginga. He also a very astute developer of a young horse. Alan's always the first person to have his baby trotters out and in public each and every year. He had a very good 2-year-old trotter a number of years ago called Constar, who won a lot of races. And Massive Merc was the first 2-year-old that stepped out for the season. And he's been in pretty much every 2-year-old race that there's been around the South Island since. So to see him get a deserved maiden success and get their hands on a bit of that 2-year-old bonus money that's floating around in New Zealand at the moment, well deserved given the miles they've travelled. He doesn't miss many workouts and trials, Alan. He likes lining them up, and they're pretty hard and fit. He did have another trotter called Imperial Command running around, but it recently sold on Gavel House to Australia. I'm not sure who to, for 21,000. It was a 43 start, one winner that sold to Aussie for quite good money. So keep an eye out for it when it arrives on your shores. It's probably already there.
You're a scarily good judge too. I do keep wrapping you up. You do know your form, and going from there. Your sister tells me I shouldn't wrap you up as much, but that's okay. We won't worry about her too much. She's had her day in the sun. She's going to get it in a minute as well. We'll touch on that in a sec. 24-25 stay-in roster for Harasta Trotters is out. Headed up by EL Titan, winner, leaving a heap of winners in America. Standing for $4,000. He is chilled. We also have Always Ready, eligible here in Victoria. Used to Me, quality sire of 3 Group 1 winners, and the value price there is $17.50. There are discounts on all 3 of those horses if you pay early. We also have Classic Connection for $3,500. Again, standing in Queensland, this horse is, and important for the New Zealand people. This horse is frozen semen, actually will mean that those horses are Q-bred. So you've got a whole new market to sell to with them being Q-bred eligible. So make sure you get in touch with the team there. And for my New Zealand friends, On a Streak will be in person, staying at Waihee Farm in conjunction with Harasta Trotters for the value price of $3,500. Breeders' Crown winner. Breeders' Crowns are on now. Frozen size 2, you can see there, back of the neck, not available in New Zealand, but Ekeri D and Orlando Vici, the 100% producer and of course sire of champion horse, Just Believe. Get in touch with the team at harastatrotters.com.au. That is harastatrotters.com.au. I don't know if you saw some of the news over here, I suppose, from this side of the thing, because we quite often, we talk about Over the Ditch, we only talk about your side. Did you happen to watch Redwood Day at all?
I caught up on a few replays, and it wasn't until Monday night that I actually caught up with them and watched, I'll admit, largely the performances of both Just Believe and also Kiang Zahara. They were the 2 that I really did want to see. But obviously had a week.
Interesting note on Just Believe. Never won at Maryborough. 6 starts, had never won at Maryborough. A horse that started everything. Do you know when the owners told Greg that? As he's walking out onto the track, they said, "Oh, you realise this horse has never won here?" And he's like, "Seriously?" But he was awesome.
Damn, there goes that plan. I was just going to give Greg a pat on the shoulder as he walked out in the Dominion and go, "Do you realise this horse has never won at Addington before, Greg?" Well, I'm not going to do that, given. And he's an interesting horse. I was watching him and then obviously reading a bit of content post that race, and the way that he sweats up. Yep. And he carries a bit of froth around with him, and Greg saying I'd be worried if he didn't do it.
Yeah.
That whereas most trainers or people to the naked eye, if they saw a horse walking around like that, sweating as much, they'd be very concerned that something was wrong with the horse. Like we talk over here about horses walking around in the pre-race and they've got their dapples out and they're looking, bright and shiny. That's the sign of, whereas obviously it is a case with him that if he's, built a bit of a sweat up and he's, he's hot and on edge, that he's ready to go.
Don't expect to see dapples. He actually doesn't have a great coat either. It's his coat. It's consistent all the way through. Any of the Kiwis that saw him at Auckland on the North Island, they're going to be aware of it. He just doesn't. He doesn't have a rich dappled coat, whether it's because of all the travelling he does or whatever it is. He's healthy. Greg and Jess turn their horses out immaculate. This is just Harry. That's just the way he is. And an insignificant, I mean this in a lovely way, he's an insignificant little fellow that stands in the stalls and, you'd walk, everyone's going to walk past him and say, where's Just Believe? Because you've got better Eclipse and those horses alongside him, they're going to be standing up. And here's this plain little bay that just does his job.
I was about to go down that line and say, take this with a grain of salt, but he's the most ordinary looking great horse I think I've ever seen. It's probably, whereas you look at a horse like Larry, who just oozes talent, and it's funny because a lot of those good ones over the years have had a bit of presence about them, and Christian Cullen was the greatest example I think we've ever seen here in New Zealand, because he was a beautiful looking horse. He walked with his neck arched. Lazarus was a bit the same. Those good horses generally look like good horses. Yeah. It's not often that you get them where, and I mean this in the greatest, with the greatest amount of respect. He does. He just looks like another horse.
Yeah.
He hasn't. You don't turn your head when he walks into the stable or anything like that. So, it must be a ticker and an engine in there, though.
I think the one thing it does do, it gives so many people such great hope too, though. Greg and Jess are one of the leading stables here, but anyone could have this horse. If that makes, like, he looks at it like that sort of horse that would just fit into any stable and go about it. The job they've done with him has been outstanding, and I think people need to be aware of how good this horse actually has been and how well he's been managed. I said to Pat Driscoll the other day, because Pat still owns this horse. He's by Orlando Vici. He's standing for 10 grand. I'll give him a free plug here at the minute. 10,000 frozen semen here in Australia. There's a few other stallions saying they do a better job. He's a 100% producer, Orlando Vici. And it's horses like him, also Kimberley's last week that won. They keep getting better. They've got great strike rates and they keep getting better. The job they've done to manage him, because quite often, prior to Petite, those horses, when they go overseas, they don't come back as good. This horse, every time he goes overseas, he seems to get better. It's ridiculous. Like, since he's come back from the North Island, I reckon he's a better horse again. He's I don't know, he's something special that we need to celebrate. If he's better than Lyle Creek or not, who cares? Just celebrate him for what he actually is, I reckon.
I think that Swedish trip was the trip that I think has made him the most, because it's such a different racing style over there. And I know he had to adjust to it pretty quickly, but you've got to gain something out of that experience, and I think they did. And yeah, he's got the Dominion handicap at his mercy, as far as I'm concerned. TAB over here are offering a Larry and Harry special, $3 for them both to win on Cup Day, which is pretty good shopping.
Yep.
If they both turn up at the top of their game, then it's pretty hard to see them beaten. So just looking forward to having them as a part of the Cup Week experience. I've watched Greg and Jess from afar for a long time and had a lot of admiration for them. And I would have Greg probably sitting inside my top 5 drivers in Australasia without a doubt. So to have him back as part of Cup Week, obviously he came over and I think he might have driven, did he drive Sushi in a Cup maybe? Yes. I think he might have. Yeah. So yeah, to have him here and Jess, obviously, because they are such willing participants when it comes to, media and, promoting the game. I think it's a massive, massive aspect to what's going to be a huge week.
They look after me so well, so I can't stop thanking them enough. Kiang Sahara coming across for the velocity. What do you think? Yeah,
she's in cruise control, and I mean, you can only take it, or we can only take what we see of her, and just from her alone, because obviously we don't know the depth of the competition that's behind it, how it stacks up to what we've got here. It's probably not going to be until we see through that first couple of 100 meters of that race on show day that we actually either A, realise how good she is, or B, fully believe it, I guess. Because we have got a very good crop of 3-year-old trotters here. Very good crop. And obviously there's some been some news over the last couple of days of a few more horses that have snuck their way in with a slot, which is exciting. So, yeah, it's shaping up to be a really cool wee addition to the end of Cup Week at Addington.
No, it is indeed. And then Viates for the Bronsons. Of course, Kiwis in their own right. Won an Inter-Dominion, Richard did, and then they both won an Inter-Dominion as a training partnership as well. So, I mean, they know how to do it. But for Emmett on the weekend, it was his first Group 1 as a driver and ticks it off with the Redwood. So great connections there for the Kiwis.
Yeah, they've done the Brosnan name over here in New Zealand is, synonymous over many, many years. Richard, a very, very good horseman, and it's great to see them still carrying it on over there, and to see Emmett picking up the baton and, diving headfirst into it, both training and the driving ranks. So, they obviously had a good run a couple of years ago. I'm just trying to remember the name of that trotter that won the.
Fred Cruz owned it. I can't think of the name.
No, I can't either. I can see it winning too, and it's going to annoy the absolute living crap out of me, but that's okay. So it's great to see them winning big races still.
That's 3 years ago, because it's back to 4 years ago, because it's back to New Zealand now. So anyway, you're typing it in. You're cheating. I found out how you cheat the other day too. Your sister explained to me how you get all these results. I was like, right, now I know.
What's that?
You go to the race, the major races, and all the results come up there as that. So that's how you remember all these horses that have won it. So I'm happy.
No, I've just got this encyclopedic knowledge sitting in here, and it's just come to me. It's just come to me. Mary Law was the name of that horse.
Yep, and be careful because Mum's watching. So any rubbish you talk about. For the 2024-2025 stallion roster for Aldebaran Park, they are standing Dancing in the Dark M for $4,400 or $4,600 including GST for the New Zealand friends. Chilled Seaman for that horse there. Sky Valley $2,000 for Australian viewers only, and the Australian representative, of course, Champion Sire. And then for my New Zealand friends, the unique opportunity with Aldebaran Eagle being available only in New Zealand for the service fee of $3,450. He's doing an amazing job, heading it up by Rocking with Attitude, plus also Gatesy's Gem. GST is payable on live foal. That is Frozen Seaman. Get in touch with the team at Aldebaran Park. Go to the website, and all the details are there. Rightio. I don't want to hold you too long, but we always have troubles with this. But we're going to start now on what was tipped as Magic Monday. Sitting over here watching it, it looked better than Magic. I mean, for starters, as a local, that was a cracker of a meeting, and it delivered.
100%. I think I said to someone this morning that Magic Monday this year would be the single best harness racing meeting I've seen at Ashburton, harness jewels aside, in the last 20 years.
Yep.
From start to finish, it was just a great day. They were perfect conditions. They were running time. You had quality horses, quality horse people, and, thrilling racing throughout the day. And you could spend a week talking about what we saw unfold there. Yeah,
definitely. It started off with a bang, 57 last half, but 27 flat last quarter. Regan Todd, he's just having a stellar year. Buddha, he's training up a storm, and it was just super impressive. Very, very fast last quarter. I know it was a boring race, but fast last quarter, and that set the scene for the rest of the day with fast times.
It did. This new reinvented version of Regan Todd that we're seeing is quite
impressive. Good, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Gone are the days of him throwing an extra 3 horses on the float just to make up numbers. He's taking that quality over quantity approach, and it's working for him, because not only did that horse go well, but Better Than Cash I thought was excellent later on in the day, and the Sophomore Classic, and La Calsa I thought was very good, and behind the good mares as well. So, Reg is he's just on a continual rise up, and him, Hayden Cullen, who we're probably going to talk about in a little bit of time, they really are starting to pick up the baton.
Got to put the Regan Todd. It's good that he's got it on the back, but it's a pain that
he's never given me one of those. And I'm a bit annoyed about it, because he knows how much I love wearing a cheese cutter.
He reckons it's the best advertising he's given me was this one here. There's another hat up there somewhere too of his, but it doesn't fit, but this one fits perfectly.
We better tag him in this and just timestamp the moment that I said, Regan, I need a hat.
I'll cut it up for you. And make sure you get it, because I don't mind a cheese cutter. Don't mind a cheese cutter. We'll even leave this for him.
Can't even get a hat.
Ken Barron, Regal Sierra was a good win on the day. Good start to the day for them guys.
Yeah, they've got a nice enough team around them too at the moment. The Tollyman Lodge team, obviously not quite the numbers that they probably used to have, but they have got a nice team. And Regal Sierra has done a good job.
Yep.
Those famous colours of Mr. Grant Dickey, of course, with the colours worn by Stars and Stripes, who won a New Zealand Derby over here when Adam was a Boy Scout, it feels like. Another very good horse called Georgetown, who did a super job here for a long time.
Did Stars and Stripes win one of the big races at Albion Park one year?
Yes, he did.
Can't think of the name of the race.
I can't go to Google now and ask that one, probably, Paul. So
I reckon
we'll just say yes, he did.
I think it's what the Blacks Are Fake used to be called. I can't think of the name.
Yeah, it's something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah. Race 3, the Woodland Stud, 2-year-old Colts and Gelding Sire Stakes. This looked like being a ripping race, and it delivered. What they get home in here, they're mile rated 51.7, 53.6, 26.4. Got the chocolates, beating Demon Blue and Confederate. Outstanding little race, this, mate.
Yeah, got the chocolates. Obviously had a barrier draw swing compared to its last couple of starts, and he's always been a very, very nice horse. And with the inside draw, that early racing there was very favoured. Actually, to be fair, throughout the day, it was very favoured to horses sort of lead trail 3 fence. And John Dunn led obviously early, then took the trail, and yeah, he was just a little bit too good for them. Good runs by, those behind, immediately behind. Nice run by the Michael House 2-year-old, who we'll probably see go to Manor 2 or something in the next couple of weeks and smash them up there. Sakatar's running into 6 was okay, but yeah, he's a nice horse, got the chocolates. He is capable of potentially running a placing behind a horse like Marketplace during Cup Week.
And John Dunn said there, I saw in the post-race interview straight after, he said, I told you he has gate speed. So getting the right barrier draw, being able to hold up. Barrier draws do mean a lot in a lot of these races. That is for sure. Rightio. This is a little horse, and you and I discussed on this. I sounded good on my show the other night on loose lines for Holt. But in all seriousness, I was watching the race with my wife and brother. My brother was shoeing horses, Grant, and he'll vouch for it. And we were talking about this horse, Louis Girl, getting the chocolates here for Craig Ferguson. In the middle, this is one hell of a drive. You still can't see him. He's back in here in the middle looking for a run. This, as you Kiwis would say, Matty, this is a wee bonny filly, isn't she?
She is, absolutely. She's a very high-speed filly too, which is surprising because her sire, Lord Forbes, was probably better known as a bit of a stayer. He'd stick on longer than a piece of tape, probably, to be fair. But yeah, beautiful drive, patient drive from Craig. He had to wait for that gap and wait for it, and it wasn't always guaranteed it was going to come, but when it did, he burst through. So Lord Forbes is just turning into this wonderful story, this small-time stallion from down in Southland. So regular listeners to Over the Ditch will remember Lord Forbes as being the horse that after he won used to get taken into the pub, literally into the bar each week, and he'd perch up at the bar alongside his trainer driver Gavin Forbes. So yeah, he's doing a great job, and nice to see the Southland team stepping up. And obviously Nathan's filly Ruby Row was excellent there. Thought Shakira was really good. She's a filly I've talked about a little bit, the Woodland Stud filly with Brendan Hill. She did a bit of work early and she stuck on very bravely. So good crop of 3-year-old fillies we've got at the moment. And I know a lot of people are just going to say, well, it's Duchess, Megxit and Treacherous Babies to sort of fight over, but there's a good chasing bunch, and there's another good 3-year-old filly that's actually about to arrive back in New Zealand who won't be in that Neverly Fillies final, but is touted as getting a slot in the Velocity, and her name is Coastal Babe.
Right. Is coming back.
She is confirmed yesterday that she will return to her trainer, Stephen Reed, because Summit Bloodstock, who own or partially own her, have a slot.
Yep.
She's not eligible for the Neverly final, but she is eligible for the slot race. And of course, because she's a filly with her gate speed, she draws barrier numero uno.
Oh, ma.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of people watching that flight when it lands in Auckland. It'll be next Tuesday afternoon. There's going to be a lot of people counting horse heads to see who's actually on that flight then, because there's going to be some, yeah. Wow. There's, there's going to be, because I believe that'll be the flight that Larry will be on. Kiang Sahara will be on. So
Aroda will be on that flight too. Aroda has worked its way into the New Zealand Cup and also has the option of sticking around for this new 4-year-old Group 1 race that's coming up, which has now been named as the Christian Cullen.
I've got that. I'll get that. We can go to that. We can I've been trying to stick to a plan, but that's okay. I don't mind you.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, because this is a great race honouring a superstar of our sport. And I was lucky enough, I think it was last year or 2 years ago, I went out to see him, and he's 30 plus years of age, but the inaugural running of like I said, $200,000 Group 1 in December the 6th, I think the race is going to be run. So yeah, really appealing to get people to stay around, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's a nice option. The good thing about that is what it may mean is that we might get to see a little bit more of Larry as well if he's sticking around. So there are opportunities there. So that plane's going to be absolutely chocker.
I'm expecting. Well, Nigel can't be there because I'm pretty sure it lands in Auckland and then it goes down to Christchurch is how it's going to work. But Nigel won't be able to be. Well, he might be able to. You never know. He might have to. Nigel, they might send him. They might have to express post Nigel there with his camera to get onto the plane. No,
he's a bit like you. He just turns up in the most unexpected places. You'll just be walking onto a race course or into somewhere, and all of a sudden, oh, there's Paul Campbell, or oh, there's Nigel Armstrong, the unhinged one.
I'm expecting the paint shop to be shut on Tuesday and Nigel to be in Auckland and counting heads before they get there because it's going to be a super important flight, that's for sure, with so many arriving. So, yeah. And I don't know that for sure, but I'm presuming there'd be only one flight.
I have a funny feeling that Leap to Fame's arriving earlier than that because the Cup Trial is on Wednesday.
Okay.
And he is going to the Cup Trial. So he wouldn't be flying in and then trialling the next day, I wouldn't imagine. I had a funny feeling he was flying in Sunday, but I that could be wrong.
All I know is Kiang Zahara is flying Tuesday, and I do know that Call Me the Breeze was discussed that he would be there on the Tuesday as well. So it'll be interesting that part. You're looking something up. Doesn't matter, but hopefully they arrive anyway. Hopefully they all arrive because it's so good for our industry if they do. That's what we want.
100%.
I know the Victoria Cup. There's talks with the Victoria Cup with Larry being so short. Oh, it's going to rob us of a race, and yet it robbed us when he wasn't there. If you know what I mean, like it's one of those things we need these horses to be there. Do you find it?
Yeah. Just an update on Call Me the Breeze. While it's unlikely he'll go to New Zealand Tuesday, we'll see how some remedial work goes, and make a call on Sunday. So that's Call Me the Breeze.
So he's not flying. So he'll be on that same Tuesday flight if they're going. So
yeah. Adam Hamilton sends out a lot of tweets.
Yes. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no. I'm only 2 days.
Yeah. Back. General Jen, Hayden Cullen, you said there before, team is flying. All their horses are flying. They're doing an awesome job. So's the driver, Bobby Butt. He is low flying. He had a great day, but he's really he's a trainer that people need to sit up and take notice of. He's also now a driver that people need to take notice of, isn't he?
He's having a good run, Bobby B. He's really matured as a horseman in the last 5 to 6 years. I feel like he's always been a very good horseman, don't get me wrong, but his relaxed attitude is probably what makes him really, really good on the track. He is very, very laid back. But horses run for him. Hayden and Amanda are doing a super job with their team. Not quite sure how that one paid so much money, to be fair. It was 30-1, but with a trip like that, it was always going to be probably pretty hard to beat, and it proved so. So, just to confirm, he's booked on a flight for Sunday, Leap to Fame.
So there must be another
flight. And Rhoda's on his way up to join him to fly over the same flight. So there you go.
We'll go a little bit quickly, but Arafura, the other runner of theirs, another horse that started big odds. It's got some quirks, but man, it's also got some ability, hasn't it?
Absolutely. That was a very good run from it because it obviously galloped early and then was charging up and behind them. So I know they have got a little bit of time for it. So once it learns to be a racehorse, they're going to have a lot of fun.
2 starts ago, it won, was first past the post. A lot of people think it won on protest, but it was actually first past the post. How it won was ridiculous. Any Australians, go back and watch it. It's just a phenomenal win. Mavis Jones, Greg and Nina and Ben combining in one of the lesser likes of the trots, but did a good job.
Yeah, a good bit of solace for them after they obviously had to scratch Muscle Mountain from the Trotters sprint. She's been a good wee mare, Mavis Jones. She's furnishing a very good record, and she's far from finished too. She probably pick up a few more before the year's out, I would imagine.
Rightio, let's go to the sophomore, the Garrard sophomore handicap. Nathan Williamson he's been having an almost run, if you like. He was stuck on those twos, but I'm tipping he was pretty happy with the results of this race. I will get it up. I will only have the last couple of hundred for you once I can get it going. But this horse, Dreams Are Free, he's a serious horse, but there was a couple of horses behind as well in this race that did an awesome job.
He's been, excuse me, a very serious racehorse since the day he first stepped out on a track. But obviously his last two runs leading into this have been a little bit below what we'd come to expect from him. Nathan sort of explained that he came back in this campaign and has developed to become quite a thick-winded horse. So they added a piece of gear to him on Monday that's clearly made all the difference. They put an anti-choke device on him just to help with his breathing. And given the performance we saw, which is so much more like him, things are definitely back on track for him. And, he's got to take on Chase a Dream and co. But obviously with the sad news around Cole Chisel being out for a while, there's an opportunity there for someone to step up and be the one to press Chase a Dream. And at his best, Dreams Are Free is probably the horse to do it.
Yeah. Jeremiah was good. Better Knuckle Up, got an invite into the Ascent, was also very good. Your little horse just kept charging up behind him, Little Renegade. He's just flying along, isn't he?
He is, absolutely. And there are some bigger assignments upcoming for Renegade too. But I think he's developing into a really well-rounded racehorse, and he's not that far behind the best of them. Don't worry about that. I would not be surprised to see him pick up a big one if everything fell into place.
Little horse that I've followed for a while because he, again, was green. He's changed camp now. He was with the Duns. He's now with Hayden Cullen. The run of Hadron Collider, they went 152.8, 55.4 last half and 27.1. Come from last to first down the back straight. Had the cheek to still be on the bridle at the top of the straight. He probably can't beat the big boys, but in the right race, he's capable of winning again and needs a barrier draw. He didn't get the barrier draw the other day, but he's a serious horse that's really starting to grow into himself.
I wouldn't say he couldn't win a big race. He has got unbelievable point-to-point speed, and if he was to draw well and trail, let's say he trails Chase a Dream in a race like the New Zealand Derby, and Chase a Dream gets monstered by multiple runners or even one runner throughout, he is that quick that I actually reckon he could run up to him and maybe stick the nose in front at the right time. He is so quick. Good run. He fought on really well. A couple of disappointing runs in behind, but these 3-year-olds have got a lot of racing ahead of them still, with obviously the slot race and then into the Derby and the like. So a lot more to be said about them in the coming months.
The Barron family, they got a double for the day. I'm tipping Clark was the happiest man on track with the biggest smile. I've seen his smile a few times, but bring on the muscle. This was an awesome win. I am going to get the last couple of 100 metres up. Gets an invite into the Velocity as well. Hopefully I've got those two the right way around, but phenomenal win because he was a mile back on him. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, well, not 5 minutes, but a couple of minutes here anyway, Matty, but just a phenomenal win this.
Absolutely. He is a horse that's always had a lot of ability, but he had a few issues in his last campaign, but he's come back beautifully. So that's him about to angle second from the outside. Yep. Just to get to the outside of Princess Sadie. That's Empire City to the outside of him. Tyron Eros is at the front. At this stage, I thought was home. Judy J was very, very good. This is probably, and this might surprise you, Paul, this was my favourite result from Monday.
Yep.
Clark and Jackie Barron are two of the most lovely people you would ever meet. They've obviously got such a wonderful history in the harness racing game. Their daughter Ellie obviously was a driver for a while. She's overseas. Can't believe she slept through it. Disappointing from her. Ellie should have woken up and watched the horse. And BJ Barclay, Brent.
Yep.
One of the probably most undervalued horsemen in New Zealand. He is top-notch driver. Very rarely makes mistakes, especially when it comes to big races. to see them come up and the joy they got out of it was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. I met Brent last year, took him back to the airport. Fair to say, I don't think he'll be going to the bunker before Friday. He'll be probably steering clear of that. But, yeah, he might find the bunker afterwards. So that was awesome. And it was a great drive. Didn't rush off the fence. Had all the time in the world. Backed the horse that he was underneath him. And don't turn around and think that maybe a couple of horses went average there. That was Empire City on his back. And she was awesome. But she just couldn't pick that horse up. And as you said, then Tyrone Eros, a horse that you've labelled as the best 3-year-old going around. Your thoughts? Was it a little bit below par, or maybe the others are potentially better than what you thought?
Well, I don't know if a sprint trip's his ideal,
Okay.
to be fair. And while I think he could probably win the slot race, I think the trotting derby is going to be more his go over a bit of distance, because he has got all the makings of being a very good stayer. So, was I disappointed? No, I wasn't. A couple of nice horses sort of ran up to him. But yeah, I just don't know whether the 1,700 metres is right up his alley just yet.
Princess Sadie got an invite as well. Well done to Maddie. She deserved it, and she's been one of those fillies that's racing all the races. She's always there. She's always thereabouts. There's nothing to her, so congratulations to him. And then Judy J, it was awesome. The cheek she showed with 100 to go, she was still in front. Like, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, and had a good chat with Cherie earlier on this week about that performance, because originally they were going to Kaikoura with her, but they've decided to back off. She'll go to an up to rating 50 race on Cup Day now, where she'll meet another nice 3-year-old filly in Fear and Faith, I believe.
Yep.
And then start building towards the Oaks, the Trotting Oaks, and potentially even the Trotting Derby, I suppose. 3 fillies in the slot race, Paul. Empire City, Kiang Zahara, and of course Princess Sadie. And tell you one thing, there's a bit of gate speed among the 3 of them too.
Yeah.
So that could be fun early. I don't know whether many of these boys would even get close to that. Princess Sadie can fly the gate. Empire City can too. Kiang Zahara, well, she could just fly anything, I think.
There is a little thing with Kiang Zahara. She doesn't know how the mobile works, and neither does Chase. If that makes sense. Like, those other 2 fillies are used to the racing, and they know how to get off the gate. So yeah, I think it's great. Personally, yeah.
Absolutely.
I really do. Father Time, what was a wash up there? Didn't look comfortable on that home turn.
No, he didn't. Kevin Townley will get that sorted. He's way better than that. So I'll just put a line through that one.
Looked to be on one rein, didn't he? Like, it looked
just didn't look that comfortable. So then maybe there was a wee issue there. I haven't heard any updated reports.
And I want to take my hat off to the starter, and we need to do this more often. And I understand the Williamsons would probably be, or Nathan would be probably a little bit upset with Joe King and it being declared a start. But one of the banes of our industry is when a horse gallops, we call a false start. And I think that is the rule it should be. If you're galloping, you continue to gallop, you worry about ungalloping, then all of a sudden all our races start on time. So it may not
as
be.
As long as you're not impeding another runner, which was obviously a benefit there. And had Bring on the Muscle not been on the unruly,
that could have been a difference.
He would have been directly behind Joe King, and we would have had a false start.
Yep.
But because he's on the unruly, he has to start from outside halfway on the second row. So there was actually a gap there. Geez, it was a bad gallop too. It was half bloody bucking and bolting, and I think Sam Otley was drawn next to Nathan, and they had a close up of her face, and even she looked scared from sitting in the sulky next to Nathan. But not pleasant.
One of those scenes where they had a galloping, pacemaker because of the way he cut the gate. I thought, oh, this is going to get ugly. But there's definitely
he's got a motor, that horse. Keep an eye on. He has got a motor.
Yeah, there's definitely 2 sides to it. I train horses, I drive horses. I've had some of the most unruly horses going around, and we cause false starts. But for betting turnover, we need to run on time. So if we can run on time, we get our prime time slots. So if we can do it. So I just think we need to do that. But trust me, I've had some of the worst ones going around. Rightio, Matty keeps looking at his door. We said we weren't going to be talking for too long. Whatever.
No, I was just looking at my emails because I've just had some more embargoed slot news come through that I can't talk about.
You can't tell me that, but that's okay. You can. Rightio, the NZB Air Freight Stakes, Merlin was outstanding. Here's the standing start for everyone to be aware of. Everyone got away except for one naughty boy, and we'll probably touch on him in a minute, Matty. But this was, I suppose, the right result came about on this race, and then there was a little bit of, I suppose, bit more going on after the race.
Yeah, 100%. There was no way that the lead trail horse weren't running first and second by by the time they got inside the last lap. Merlin, it's a tricky one. Like, Merlin's beaten Don't Stop Dreaming on his merits here. I've got no doubt about that. Merlin's another run into his prep ahead of Don't Stop Dreaming.
Yep.
I'd expect the gap to close a bit more before cup time. And I also wonder whether Don't Stop Dreaming's a better horse when he's coming from off the speed. But that's stuff that we'll find out in the next couple of weeks. Talking points out of this: Republican Party, very, very good.
Outstanding. As good
Had
as
to
outstanding
move.
go. Wow.
Rock and Roll Do was coming back in his lap.
Yep.
Now, that is Cold Chisel out about 5 wide. As it eventuates, he ends up getting a trip to a veterinary clinic with a leg issue post this race. Not as bad as what they first thought, but still enough to probably curtail his year. Ultimeteor running into third, exceptionally good. He becomes a realistic top 4 chance in the New Zealand Trotting Cup for mine because he's got brilliant stand-start manners. He finished that off. Now, I always like to liken the Ashburton Flying Stakes a little bit like the Geelong Cup in galloping. You want to spot the horses that are charging through the line and doing their best work late with a view to going up to 2 miles at their next start. If that was Ultimeteor to a T on Monday.
Yep.
He finished that race off beautifully. With his good stand-start manners, he's a good follower of speed and he'll hit the line. He's got to be a realistic top 4 chance. Disappointing efforts. Beach Bull, obviously, his manners are just all at sea at the moment. The guy sitting behind him.
It's about his undoing, isn't it? Like
the guy sitting behind him's driven over 3,000 bloody winners, so he knows how to get a horse away. So you can't blame Ricky for it. It's just the horse. Rock and Roll Do's obviously been withdrawn off the back of his poor performance. Something's clearly not right with him. Honest opinion, he doesn't like New Zealand. Nothing's gone right for him in 2 or 3 two. What are we now? Well, 2 trips to New Zealand. Yep. They've all been horror stories for him, so he's better off going back to Australia and finding his happy place again, I think.
He could end up he could end up in America, that horse.
Yeah, Max Shard was a bit disappointing. He gets another chance at Kaikoura on Monday. Not Wagstar, Da Vinci actually hit the line pretty good too. So, look.
It's interesting to talk there, though. They got him in 26.5. So if there's a knock on Max Shard, is those high quarters, like he probably, because I was probably too fast home, that's where he possibly looked. Would that be fair?
Potentially.
He'll get on top of them.
I just didn't like the fact that he couldn't go with them even for a furlong up the straight.
Yeah.
Like those top 4 dropped the rest of that field so quickly.
Yeah.
So,
never know.
And I mean, that's the way
driver change he might pick up.
Oh, yeah.
From Scotty to Crystal.
Yeah.
I'm not going over. I'm not going over at the minute, so it's all good.
Cool. I'll get the blame for it.
Rightio. We don't want to cut this race short because it was very, very special. The What the Hill. He looked after his sire, that's for sure. But I just got to get this up. I want to get the start here. Your thoughts on that's what's his face on screen? I've got his name, but Bet and Win. The way he gets off the arm, I know Oscar Bonavina puts a couple of funny ones in. Just watch for it here in a second. But I don't think Oscar was ever going to have enough speed anyway, because Bob was under a nice hold out of the gate.
Yeah, well, they never sort of asked Bet and Win to run out of the gate. He'd obviously won a couple of times from a mobile, but he's a fast horse, so
yeah,
I couldn't see why he wouldn't have gate speed. And he actually led that pretty easy on his ear, because a horse like Midnight Dash has actually got a bit of gate speed as his Highgrove, and he held them all out pretty easy. So, seeing Oscar put that skip in probably changed the whole complexity of the race right from the outset. And you can see Bob has a couple of good long looks over the shoulder throughout the race just to see where Oscar is. But look, once he got that lead and was able to back it off for that third quarter, I think we would have been very, very disappointed if he got beaten, because we know how fast he is. But he has a horse in the zone. I probably didn't expect him to do it with the hood still on, probably still in second or third gear. But he's progressing beautifully towards the Dominion. No one apart from Stacey David, my old man, and Stonewall Stud will probably see him for the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Maybe Bob at one point. And he'll go into that Dominion, probably is now deserving of being the leading Kiwi contender.
Yep. Kirsten Green's drive was outstanding. Sat close enough to say no one come. And then gets into second place. Thought Oscar was a lot better. he definitely was a lot better. But that early couple of twitches out of the gate, probably a little bit of a worry for him. And then pretty much the rest of them had their chances, I reckon. Yeah, Jimmy Carter was the name of that other horse. Johnny Morrison, he had one of those days, Johnny, I think. So, yeah, I need to get that off the screen, but that's okay. But he was awesome bet and win, and I think well done to those guys. He's been the highlight horse for this year, or the back half this year. I know a lot of us have been keen on him for a long time, Matty, but he's really, really announced himself to everyone.
Yeah, and I think 12 months.
Yep.
He's going to be an even better horse.
Yep.
Everything that he does through this campaign and through the rest of this year will furnish him into a better horse in 12 months' time. And Just Believe's not going to be around forever. Whereas he's only a relatively new 4-year-old, and he's got it all in front of him. Stace and David have done a really, really good job of managing his preparation and, keeping him ticking over at home, because obviously they've effectively that was his third public run for the campaign since he got back from Aussie. He had one trial and then straight into the Canterbury Park and then into that race. So, look, he's still got a lot to learn and still got a long way to go to be considered in the conversation with some of the horses that he's, competing with and beating at the moment. But he's certainly on the right path. And yeah, there's a lot of excitement around about the second Tuesday in November. I can say that much within the family ranks.
I think the industry needs to be celebrating it too, though. I think, we've got the Harry and Kenny show. I've said it before, the old and the new. I don't think Greg and Jess would mind saying that they're the old, because he has been around. And Kenny, there's something about him. There's something very special. He's a horse that's travelled. A lot of people might say, he's only a Kiwi. He travelled. He went to the Great Square. Nothing went right. He didn't contest the Great Square. He announced himself to start before, though, and people were like...
By beating the horse that won the Great Square.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, he is very marketable. From an end-time perspective over here, we've just seen a massive push for a horse called I Wish I Win in the Everest, and an aptly named horse.
Bet and win.
Yeah, bet and win, It's a very similar situation and opportunity, but, this year, maybe not, maybe next year, once he becomes a really bona fide, genuine, well-rounded, proper racehorse. Because as much as I look at him, I think, gee, you've still got a bit of development in you. Yeah, still got a bit of rounding off to do. And yeah, we'll see what happens in the next 12 months. But gee, it's an exciting ride for those involved for sure.
David and Stacey, too, incredibly marketable. The young baby whose name's left me in the colours. Lockie is quite regularly in the colours. The colours are marketable because they pop, if that makes sense. They bounce off a screen. If you want to do a banner or something to get people there, you put his colours up. People are going to catch it on social media, on billboard going past. There's a lot to tick about this horse. Don't want to put him under that sort of pressure, but it's cool. Plus, like what we're saying, there is a bit of a changing of the guard with a lot of the trainers and drivers in New Zealand at the minute, and they fit this bill, albeit only have a couple of horses. Don't forget Major Hot, though, the job that they did with him in Queensland as well. So just because they don't race a lot doesn't mean they don't know what they're doing. So, I think it's there's so many things to tick about that. And, it's so good for our industry, full stop. And hats off to everyone else, Cullens, Bob Butts, these guys. Everyone is marketing themselves and really raising the bar for the industry, which is what we need.
Mm-hmm. And people are getting a lot better at marketing themselves now than what they used to be.
But Matty, they need to. You and I both know it. Sometimes it can be frustrating. You can have a horse that you got to highlight, but the person doesn't. Like, we want to highlight the horse, but the person doesn't try to help the industry.
And I think a lot of the responsibility actually starts with the people themselves too.
Yeah, you
market yourself properly, and then other people will begin to market you. I do a bit of social media work for a couple of leading stables over here, and they are very good and very forward-thinking in the way that they handle their communications and marketing, and it breeds success for them, I think, because they are more noticeable, more seen. So it's a constant work on that side of harness racing, I think.
Yep. And if anyone's ever wondering, I know exactly what hats I put on, even though you were very smart the other day, I must say. But I didn't have a sponsor's hat to throw on the other day, but even the shirts, because Brecon Farms, of course, Brad Benton, he's by What the Hill, but I just thought I'll change it up. People would be wondering why, but there's no mistake why I've got it on, because I mean, the job Brecon Farm are doing for the trotters in New Zealand is outstanding as well. And talk about marketing, the job that they do, the black colours, they just put it out there, and it's what this industry is about. Woodland Stud have a fantastic stallion roster for the 2024-2025 season, headed up by the King, Bettor's Delight, down by the seaside, who just keeps producing quality horses on both sides of the ditch. Lather Up 2-year-olds are really starting to make an impression. Speeding Spurs standing for the value of $1,000. Sweet Lou fully booked out here in Australia, but still available for the New Zealanders. And What the Hill, the sire of Bet and Win, who won the Canterbury Park on the weekend and is now qualified for the Dominion Handicap. To get in touch with the team, visit woodlandstud.co.nz. That's woodlandstud.co.nz.
Gee, I need to get my hands on some merch.
You talk to my people, I'll see how I go. It'll be fine.
I'm running the Still Harness Life hat from 12 months ago. Emily did give me a bucket hat, but I've got a big Swede and I couldn't get my head into it. I look like an absolute lunatic.
Yeah, they're for thimbles. Anyone that can wear one of those bucket hats has got a thimble, because there's not a chance in hell it'll fit my bonds either. So
I think the missus told me I look like that guy off Happy Gilmore that runs them down with the car.
with the thing. I might have to find that. Might have to find that photo. I got the drink bottles, and that, but unfortunately, it sits there out of the way because I have too much going on my screen. Rightio, let's keep going, because God, you and I are hopeless. I said we're not going to go for an hour. We've gone over an hour already, but that's okay.
I've still got 5 hours of work to do.
The Mid-Canterbury Ladies Sprint. This is a horse that you've spoken about. We've given Bobby Butt a rap. I still can't pronounce its name properly, but this is a horse I'm going to have to learn, because this horse is going to be around for a while. Princess Meritain, I'll go with. Hopefully that's close. No, not even close.
Meritain.
Meritain, okay.
Taiten.
She's a
very
beautiful
fast.
filly. Yeah,
beautiful horse. And it just shows that at this top level, the difference that a barrier draw can make.
Yep.
She obviously drew the front line. Mantra Blue, who is arguably our best pacing mare, they're two running into fourth. She had to come wide on the last bend, but being up on the speeds, being, following a nice horse like Mr. Kaplan, she was always going to be very hard to beat once she lobbed the trail, and Mantra Blue was that far off them on the home turn. Good run from LaCalsa.
You reckon
she'll drop back into a graded race at some point and probably just smash them.
Has it got out yet?
What's that? No.
It even got an escort into its box when it got back to the box.
Correct.
Unbelievable, wasn't it? Robbie Close, thank God they're having a good run, because he would have been with more frustrated people. He just sat there, which I think, hats off to him too. He did an awesome job, and Mantra Blue was good. And again, a 26-7 quarter. So that was terrific. Matty, I don't want to hold you long. I did want to do a full go form preview right through Karaka, which we are not going to do. But why didn't that change over? But Karaka on Sunday.
Kaikoura, Paul.
Kaikoura. That's the other hat. Kaikoura on Sunday. We'll highlight this meeting because this is the what do they call it? The fast 8?
Fast 10.
Fast. Oh, there's 10 races. Fast 10.
Well, no, it was originally developed as the Fast 10.
Yep. 8 runners, short gaps, 20-minute gaps. So that'll be a highlight for the Australians. That's at 3:48. So just before 2 o'clock is the first, and just after 4 o'clock. So 2 hours of 8 races. One of the most picturesque race courses going around. Is there any shorties or anything there that we might want to keep an eye out for? No, you think I don't.
Yeah, no.
No.
I can't say I've had a real good look through those fields compared to the Monday.
Definitely don't want to throw you under the bus. We will go to the main 2 races, and then if you do have something else, the first of those is the White Morph South Bay Trotters Cup, and we mentioned there before about 1 overall being the only horse off a handicap. Interesting little race, matey.
Yeah, it is. Some very nice horses in there. Obviously, you've got Mighty Logan, who's been super all year. Mystic Max, who I think might have actually won this race previously. Artie by the Hill.
Yeah, won it
but
last
obviously,
year. Won it last year. I was trying to think who won it last year.
Yeah.
And he won it last year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, one overall, obviously, probably the big talking point out of the race. But this race is going to have massive permutations towards the Dominion Handicap in those last 2 or 3 spots in the field. Mr. Love, I think, is currently ranked 15th, so he needs to at least go well enough to hold his spot. Whereas, one overall is probably going to go better than him to get ahead of him. So a lot of permutations in that one. I'm very keen on Mighty Logan. I think if he can handle the Kaikoura experience, and that is half the battle often going up there, he'll be winning that race.
One overall is a very different horse to what you Kiwis saw last. He's gone, really changed with the straight track and the hill track at Greg and Jess's. But I think you'll have a lot of flashbacks with the flat track. I don't know how he's going to get around that flat track, but anyway, it will be very interesting. I suppose everyone else in the race has to get through that as well. The NZB Standardbred Yearling Sales, the Age Classic. This is sort of like, I suppose, a consolation for the Kaikoura Cup.
Oh, no, not so much. It's an opportunity for those older horses that have been through the yearling sales to actually have a crack for some good money later on in their career, and there's not a lot of those opportunities. Some very good horses have won this race over the years. If you click on that race history button there, Paul, we will be able to have a look at a few of those horses.
Is that where you find it just there? Oh,
yeah, so Jimmy James Maguire last year, Older Wise Guy, Heisenberg won it 5 years ago. He's in it again this year. Warlock, he won it 2 years ago. He's in it again.
It was called Arden Rooney won it.
Arden Rooney, yep.
Wow. In the care of Mark.
So some nice horses have won
Mark
it.
Won it. Stage. So
yeah.
Ah.
Good wee race, and another good wee race, and it's got a very good horse in it this year. And sooner the better.
It has indeed.
I don't know whether a horse who runs second in a Miracle Mile would have ever lined up in this race before. There you go, Paul. Bit of train spotting for you. Let alone only started off a 10-metre handicap. He should spank that field. Absolutely spank them. Interesting driver change. Scotty Phelan sacked himself. He's put Zachary Butcher on. I suppose he goes okay, Zachary. Good wee cheeky each way bet off the front take there, Leicester. He ran second in the race last year behind Jimmy James Maguire, beating the nose. I think his good standing start manners will potentially put him in the right spot. And I will tell you that the 3 is a very, very good horse, Rakiro Rocket. One to keep an eye on going forward.
I'm going to say the Smiths are hoping Finetti wins, because if it wins, they won't be shutting the bar for ever in a day. If those boys rock up in fine form, that's for sure. And 3:15 on the Monday. I know what I'll be doing Monday, but that's okay with the Kaikoura Cup. I'm glad Tack McLeod's there, but the barrier draw, does that get him off the front line at all, Matty?
If you scroll up a little bit, Paul, just to be sure, there's a little tab on the right-hand side there that says frontline limit. 8
across, so he doesn't get off the front unless there's a scratching. Do you guys move up, or you don't move up after scratchings?
You will in a stand start unless it's a late scratching.
Okay. Yep.
Your
wee horse is drawn the front line. I saw that, so it's going to be a matter of whether he steps or not. But yes, I'll let you go now. I'll behave myself.
My wee horse.
Yes, a horse you tipped a week or 2 ago that could be very dangerous to beat, but I'll just see if you double down on it now or not.
Oh, Wagstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he's come up a $3 favourite, so I'm not really telling anyone anything they don't know there. If he finds the front round Kaikoura, they will not beat him. I'll put it that way. He will corner around there like a race car and just destroy them. I talked about the main trot having some massive permutations for some of these races upcoming in Cup Week. Well, this one too. Wagstar, Mwanga could both push their way into Cup contention with a win, potentially even a top 2. American Me, we need to see a little bit more out of him. Can report that he trialled at Rangiora yesterday and was much, much better. He seems to be over that virus. He's now chasing his tail a little bit, though, leading into Cup Week. He'll get a good run under his belt. Charlie Brown obviously needs to perform to hold his spot if some of these others are going to leapfrog. Probably want to see a little bit more out of a horse like Mark Shard. Obviously a good chance to have a look at Better Eclipse. Funnily enough, and I know I've been so hot on Wagstar for a very long time in this race, my thinking changed a little bit when I saw the field come out. I think Kango can win it.
Yeah.
He's won the race before. He actually beat a Cooter when he won it.
2 years ago. It was the first time I went.
Yeah. David Butcher's coming down to drive him. One of the best big race drivers in Australasia, D. Butcher. he can step, and when he steps, he generally finds the front. The lead might not be there for Wagstar. That changed the whole complexion of that race for me. Kango drawing inside them, and he's such a good Dow pacer that he could hold on.
For the year that he won it, there was 3 or 4 horses come up to have a crack, and they refused to hand up that year, didn't they? They said no, and that was when he announced himself.
That was one of them was a Cuda too. Like,
yes,
you know, he's a very, very good racehorse when he's on top of his game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him run a bold race on Monday.
Now, I'm going to show you the Aussies here something, just so people are aware. This is not a gimmick race, not the once-a-year race. Look at the winners. Akuda, Kango, Classy Brigade, 3 years in a row. He got around like rails. A horse called Spankum, a horse called Lazarus, Franco Nelson, Rooney twice, Fly Like an Eagle, Sushi, Smiling Shard. It just goes on and on, winner after winner right through. Il Vicolo down there in 95, 96, Matty. It's not a gimmick race, is it?
No, it is a bona fide open class race. One thing actually that's probably quite clear, you look at Sushi and Arden Rooney, and the Aussies haven't got a bad record in that race. I know Sushi was trained. Wasn't trained.
No, I don't think he stayed.
He might have been in the Purden Rasmussen name by then.
Oh, Natalie drove him, so same ownership, but Natalie drove him. So
correct.
Yeah.
Kieran drove Arden Rooney for a second win, didn't she?
Yeah. She had it for the second, because I remember Grant saying it was one of the greatest races he had ever been, the windy little trip, and then you come around and poof, everything just opens up, and it's just like, wow.
I actually think that was the first day I met Grant.
Good bloke, isn't he? Better than me.
Yeah.
Got in before you could.
It's a pretty low bar, isn't it, I suppose? So, obviously, and then that carried right through. But as you can see, it's thrown up with the old cup winner too over the years.
Yeah, it's a good form guy.
So, things may bode well for better Eclipse. And the good thing for him is he doesn't need to get involved in all that early rush with Wagstar and Kango. And if Mwanga catches it on the right foot, he's pretty quick away too. So the first couple of 100 metres could be huge in that race.
Yeah, and good for Greg to understand how a big field standing start's going to work. Same starter. We'll be starting that. We'll be starting the cup. So it's going to be
No.
No.
We put Greg Sugars in a 15-horse maiden trot at Methven on the grass. He can handle anything we've got. Don't worry about the candy man.
No, the candy man.
I think there's probably
that,
and I mean this with the greatest of respect. That is probably one of my biggest concern around some of these big guns coming over from Australia is the different way that we conduct standing starts and even mobiles, to be fair. Leap to fame, obviously, that's got to be the only question mark around him. I would hate to see him draw one in the New Zealand Trotting Cup. I really would. But it's just a different style. And, without having a lead up race or two, A, you don't allow the horse to get accustomed to the way that it operates, but B, doesn't allow the driver to get accustomed to the way that it operates either. It's not. Different starters have different methods for the way that they do things. And unless you're familiar with those and those little mannerisms that they might do, like you look at some of our best drivers over here in New Zealand, the John Dunns, the Blair Oranges, the Tim Williams, etc., they can pick Ricky Donnelly because they know what his starting mannerisms are. Yes, they get caught out from time to time because they think they've predicted it, but it's not right. It's one of the big questions for me leading into Cup Week with the Aussies. I'm not worried about ability or talent. It's just adjustment to the New Zealand style, if that makes sense.
I haven't been around Ricky a few times, and he's given me some great access both behind the mobile, as we saw at Ashburton, but also some of these stands. Who cares? He takes no shit. He doesn't, if that makes sense. He doesn't care who it is. If it is Blair Orange, Johnny Morrison, or Paul Campbell, someone yells out, if he's ready to call him and he thinks it's a fair start, he'll just call it. And that could be one of those things. I do know that's one of the big problems here in Australia is so many of the standing start blokes are so nervous about calling a start that if someone yells out, they stop and go from there. So I think that's one of the things that I recommend to anyone that can't get the opportunity to have a drive. If you get the opportunity to go to a standing start somewhere and watch Ricky start them the week before, stand over there because you learn so much. I did watching. You understand what he's thinking, where he is, and
there's that aspect to it, but that 2 mile start at Addington's pretty unique.
Yep.
Because it's actually still partly on a camber from the bend.
Yep.
And if you're drawn out wide, you traditionally, God spit it out, Matthew, actually get a bit of a leapfrog on the horses to the inside because of the way that the track's angling back down.
Yep.
So you'll quite often see the outside horses ping the best.
Yep.
So I always said that if you're drawing outside 5 in a 2 mile race at Addington, you're actually better served than drawing 1 to 5. Because you've got more of a chance with that angle coming down off the camber of the bend to actually sling across and actually get in front of those ones drawn inside you.
Okay, so leave the same hat on. The velocity though, Kiang Zahara, are you saying she might be better to draw 6 and out?
Well, not so bad. No, not so bad in the mobile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not as bad.
Just where that 2 mile started at Addington is right on the end of the camber from the bend. As they come around at about the 900 metre mark, I guess it probably is. Anyway. But
it would be 1200, wouldn't it?
No.
900.
The 800s are 150 metres into the back straight, and they're starting about 100 metres back from that. So the mobile race won't be the bad because obviously the 1980 start is past, getting close to the 800 metre mark. So they're back on a reasonably levelled surface. Yeah.
Anyway. All right.
Anyway.
Very good. Well done to Paul Hales. I didn't say well done. Congratulate him. He actually won the competition with the Christian Cullen. So I don't reckon Halesy would have put a lot of thoughts into it, but I'll know if he watches because I'll get a smiling face. I want a smiling face on this comments, Halesy, if you watch this. So, of course, Mac a Lodge man.
Yeah, 100%. I'm surprised they only said there was 2 entries with the Christian Cullen.
Maybe
I put that in.
I put over the ditch.
I tried to get clever with mine and come up with some Maori name that stood for the great horse. They obviously didn't appreciate that, so wait until I see Courtney and Emily and all those people. Oh, geez, I've got a bone to pick with them.
I just thought the hard hitting show over the ditch would have got a great result, but nothing there as well. There was Johnny Turner. We did not give him a shout out, and I must say, like we say about everything that South Islanders were doing, leading owner on at Addington on Friday night with 2 winners. The great man, he does such a great job, and the content that he's been punching out this week has been outstanding. But well done.
I think he had a winner down south on Sunday too, didn't he? I think he might have a share in Terra Sancta. I think the Turn It Up syndicate might be that would make sense to be his. He just pops up in all these little horses. You're just sitting there listening to them read out the owners, and then JT Turner. And
I was like Joyride when Joyride was winning. I'm thinking, geez, that's a similar name to an Australian horse. And then I look and I'm like, but this is the same horse. Like so, yeah.
No, good on you, JT, the king of content. He's had a very busy week with all the success that we've seen from Southland at Ashburton on Monday, and then obviously with some rather large announcements when it comes to slot races in relation to a couple of Southland trotters as well. So pumping out the content is Johnny and doing his usual brilliant job of it.
Yeah. Turn It Up. Yep, Turn It Up Racing Syndicate. You're spot on. Terra Sanctum. So well done. You're all over it, mate. You are the greatest. So he's had 3 winners, so he should become. I tried to get him on the show, and he said I'm knee deep in it, so he wouldn't do it. So that's okay.
He must be making a claim for Owner of the Year at the Harness Racing Awards.
Oh, he deserves it. Yeah, definitely. We'll put his vote in for him now. Matty, thank you. Really do appreciate it, mate. You had a busy day. Not much going on in those interviewer rooms by the sounds, because you thought you mightn't have it for an hour, but you've got plenty of time.
Oh, no, the studio's been pretty busy for the morning, so it's been vacated because I asked for it to be vacated. So
the power of Matty.
I've only got 1 more week left in this place, Paul, so I'm not really fussed too much about what's going on around me, to be fair.
The hard-hitting question, are you going to tell me the embargoes, or do I have to sit and wait?
I haven't actually opened the email yet. I just saw that there was... I can't tell you the embargo.
It's all good.
But what I can tell you is it is embargoed until 5 o'clock tomorrow night. 5 more slots confirmed.
Good. They need to get them out there because it is getting too close to it, and you need to be able to market them and get the messages out there. So, yeah, Tumby Park, I think we're bringing the muscles too. So some more Australian interest there as well with that. So, good luck to Brent Barclay and them if they do win, because Scotty does know how to have a party. Don't worry about that. So it could be a wee bit of fun there.
Yeah. I'm feeling very much the same. If Bet and Win happened to do the same thing, I'd give it a tip. I won't be coming online to do Over the Ditch on the Tuesday night after Cup Week.
I will
Unless
say,
you want 75,000 people that'll probably be crammed into my parents' lounge on with us. Yeah.
No, I will say, as far as from the sponsors and that go, we will do a show next week, hopefully with Maddie, but we will not do one during Cup Week. I'm not even going to try. So, yeah, I'm hoping you're coming on. I'm not going to.
I might have a job by then, so I'll have a bit of free time if you want to do one.
Next week?
No, Cup Week.
Are we going to do one?
Yeah.
All right. That's even better.
What else are we going to do?
Oh, cool. Okay. I appreciate that. I thought you'd be too busy.
Yeah, we could do one on the Wednesday if you wanted to.
Hey, RNZ, they need to put some money across your desk, mate. I mean that. So, yeah.
Oh, the more people that put money across my desk, the better, Paul.
Well, you gave
especially because I'm about to be unemployed.
You gave them a drive-by for me a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, so I'll make sure that the girls are sitting up there having a listen to this. They might have just choked on their Wheaties, as I said, Brad Steele did. So,
Brad, my people will talk to your people, mate.
We'll see if he puts a like up and then he listens to it a bit later on. We'll see how it goes. Matty, thank you, mate. Really do appreciate it.